This week on RSBANDB Update, the Slayer collection log is out, but it all seems minor. More importantly, we also received confirmation that bank placeholders are on the way next week, and that a new skill will be announced at RuneFest. Yes, a new skill. We sum up our ideas and come forward with Archeology. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 743, recorded Thursday, September 26th, 2019. What did you just say? Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Tannis and myself are in getting a little bit of a rest before the flurry of next week, which is, going to be a whirlwind week.
It's going to be a really busy week, and, I think it's okay. I think we're well rested, right? I mean, we've had plenty of time to rest up for the big.
And at least I'm not flying across the Atlantic this year for it.
That's true. You won't have any jet lag,
And of course, we're talking about RuneFest and the episode that comes before it, because we're actually going to be doing a special RuneFest episode on the Saturday after the event has concluded. We'll talk more about what's going to be in that later. And, next week it's been confirmed, we have the launch of the Bank Placeholders update and improvements, which is, really, really good.
I can't wait. God, I can't wait. And you know what will not be included in our RuneFest special this year? Like one of the more important things. Well, Earth won't be telling any embarrassing stories about Shane this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think next time, if there is a next time, we'll have a field kit and we'll just do the recordings over there. Because I think we did miss out on something of not having Sirion on that episode a couple days before and whatnot. But that was a whirlwind.
A field kit. I like that.
Yeah, it's a field kit. I mean,
field kit. Yeah,
and field kit, of course, has different meanings to it. It could be an FBI field kit for interrogation and whatnot. But anyways, we're getting off track here. The Slayer collection log.
That took a dark turn, Shane.
Oh, the slog. Yeah, I used to watch lots of 24.
Me too.
So, the slog or Slayer collection log. I mean, it's a Slayer collection log for all the different Slayer monsters out there. I think the biggest thing about this update that annoys me is that there's many different ways of gaining access to it. The first way is that when you log in, if you click the little banner this week, you'll get a little book called the Slayer collection log. You can also right-click the skull of the Slayer counter or the Reaper counter to access the Slayer collection log. Or you can go into your Adventures menu, go to the Beast tab, and choose the Slayer kill count list, and then there will be a button for accessing it all there as well. So, yeah, lots of different ways to access this. And, it's split up based on region. You have, Keldagrim, for example, there, Asgarnia, Mauritania, Daemonheim, Feldip Hills, Kandarin, Mauritania, and the Wilderness, amongst others. And, they did fill in some of these ones that you would have had before. Like, for example, in Mauritania, I have the Abyssal one filled in because I did get an Abyssal head in the past. General drops, dragon eggs are there because you can get those, as well as things like the Ectoplasmator and whatnot. So all of these drops that you might have in your bank from a Slayer creature that are unique to Slayer creatures will tick off the box if you've completed it. And, I mean, this update isn't going to make me go do more Slayer.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not that kind of an update, and my lack of enthusiasm, I don't want that to be perceived as I think it's a bad update or a negative reaction. It's a collection log.
Yeah, and it's also very cheap to implement, too. It doesn't, require huge new assets and whatnot, which is good from development time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that I guess if you like to collect things, it's there. But that's really all I got on it, Shane. I mean,
Like, it's not going to change the way we do Slayer or anything. So.
No, and I mean, and honestly, like the way to get to it, I think like the best way to get to it, and then really the only one they needed was on that skull. Like, I think that's the easiest, it's the most direct way.
But the problem with that is that it's not immediately clear that there's even a right-click context option on that.
Well, that's true.
Because
I wouldn't have known it if you didn't tell me.
Because the skull looks purely decorative.
Yeah, no, if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known that. So that, I guess that's another
And
problem.
this becomes a whole other issue when we start talking about mobile.
Oh,
because that's going to be a long press. And, I mean, yes, that makes sense, but who out there is going to long press a Slayer skull icon?
It's going to be an accident the first time it opens. I'm like, what?
And
How'd I do that?
And aside from the book this week that you get when you log in, this is, for all intents and purposes, is buried within the interfaces of the Adventures menu.
Yes, that's the part... because I had looked around on Monday trying to find it, and it took me a while, as per usual. But the minute you mentioned the skull, it's like, oh, I could just right-click. I was like, oh, it's right here, okay. But on Monday, I had a lot harder time looking through the adventure tab to try to find it and everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where I even found that. I think I just found it by way of right-clicking, and, it wasn't even mentioned in the news post that was there. And on live stream, Mod Shawnee said that, hey, I should have mentioned this in the news post, that you can right-click the skull to get access to the Slayer collection log. And, I think this also goes to what we were just talking about, how it's hard to access this log and, actually trying to find it unless you know what you're looking for. They did say on the live stream that there is the potential for something at RuneFest to be announced that effectively puts all of these collection logs together in one place. So the Treasure Trail collection log, this one, and the Player on Farm log. I think there might be one other one as well. So
Boss collection
log, right? Yeah. So all four of those, they said they're looking at a way of bringing this in towards one central user interface, which I think, based on what we just described, is something that is indeed warranted.
Yeah, I agree.
There's also 12 titles that you can get based on completing all the different logs. That's for Asgardia and Misselin, it's Protector of the Peace. Daemonheim, the Blood Rager. Caridian Desert will net you the Devourer title. Feldip Hills will be the Ascended. Fremennik Province, the End of All Things. Kandarin, the Well Arty. Karamja of the Jungle. Keldagrim, the Stout Slayer. The Lost Lands is the Harbinger of Death. That's a nice one. Mauritania is the Scourge of the Undead. Other Worlds is Gielenor's Champion. And Wilderness is 4 and 3's Fury. And if you complete all of these, you will unlock the Ultimate Slayer title.
That's cool. I do like the Ultimate Slayer title. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with this kind of update.
No, I mean, I don't think it's in any way a bad update or, wasn't done. I mean, I think it's fine. I don't think there's any, any oomph to it. Like, I'm not, like I said, it doesn't excite me, but it's a fine update. I don't have anything negative to say about it whatsoever. I'm ready for some. I'm ready for some meat, though. I want to bite into an update, and this wasn't quite the one we can really get into.
Well, I think you're going to be getting your chance for that.
I think so. I think so.
So just a couple of other tidbits regarding this from the live stream. 1/3 of players collected the Slayer log on release on the first day when they logged in. As of midnight on at the end of Monday, 54 Slayer titles were unlocked. Keldagrim had 40 of the 54 completed.
Stout Slayer, huh?
Yeah. So... and we'll talk more about what was mentioned in the live stream in a bit after we get through that. But nonetheless, I don't think there's much else left to say on a Slayer collection log of all things.
Yeah, I think titles are fine. There's a title for everything now, so cool, I guess. Yeah.
The Keldagrim one is the granite shield, the hand cannon shot, dragon throwing axe, off-head dragon throwing axe, and dragon pickaxe. So that's the easiest one to get.
I think I've gotten all of those except for the hand cannon. I don't think I've ever gotten a hand cannon.
Oh, you got a pick? Wow.
Yeah, I did get it. Well, and you know what? I've gotten all that stuff from the Chaos Giants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I keep Chaos Giants in my player dungeon.
Oh, the pick is down to 1 mil after the mining and smithing rework.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is, but you need it for the Earth and
Song pickaxe.
Song, yeah.
Feldip Hills one would also be somewhat interesting to complete because they're all the Ascension Keystones plus Ascension Grips and the Hex Crest.
Oh.
So.
Yeah. I think Of the Jungle sounds cool, like the Karam Joan.
Yeah, let's see what's in that one. That one is Dragon Plate Legs, Plate Skirt, Whip Vine, the Tazar items, Obsidian Cape, Ring of Stone, and the Gemstone items from the Gemstone Dragons.
That should be actually fairly easy.
Aren't those pretty hard to get? Like the gemstone.
Well, the gemstone stuff. Yeah, I mean everything.
Gemstone stuff.
Gemstone stuff. I've gotten a couple pieces, but I don't think I've gotten a whole set.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the patch notes then, because there's really not much else there that we can say on that. So in patch notes this week, a good number of them. Starting off under the achievements category, removed incorrect hints in the Take a Bow achievement in the new Explorer path that directed to Lowe's Archery Imperium, and renamed this achievement to the Triple Bull Line to resolve a duplicate achievement name. You got too many achievements when you have duplicate names come together.
Yeah.
The Don't Bury This One achievement in the Lumbridge Explorer path no longer states the number of coins to purchase an iron hatchet, since this varies with GE value. Combat-wise, the prayer filter will now stay active when logging out and back into the game, so it'll remember its state. The Majorat Aura's examine info has been better updated to reflect its effects, so that's just a text change only. Graphics-wise, updated the lambs at Farmer Fred's farm to use the newer lamb models, including the infamous black sheep of the family. And chickens at the Falador farm, Miscellanea, and etc. have been graphically updated.
Okay.
There was some talk in the clan chat about this one, and that in particular the chickens and the sheep, that this might lead to what was being talked about in the survey of having a high level chicken dungeon, for example.
I hope that doesn't happen. I really, really hope it doesn't. Come on.
Me too.
I mean,
Could you imagine sheep that you need to slay because they get angry? Could you imagine a high-level sheep, chicken, and cow dungeon?
No. It sounds like someone's fever dream or something. Like, just let that one go, guys. Just, no.
I think the far more likely explanation is that this is in the new player areas primarily, and they want to be putting their best foot forward on this.
Yeah, it would be.
So,
and I think we'll see some love if the new strategy holds for that.
And this one was apparently suggested by Tycho. Berthorpe clan flag stands now do something interesting, as opposed to nothing interesting, because when you examine them, it would say, nothing interesting happens. And what would happen...
What's interesting now?
What would happen with that is that if you put your Vex on the flag stand, the big flag there changes to your clan's colors.
Okay.
So, with a Vex standing by, that's a huge advertisement for your clan. which if you're a clan that's recruiting in the new player area, this is a good thing to have. And I don't think many people are going to be aware of that. So that's an important one.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Scroll bars are no longer out of sync with the cursor when clicking and dragging. Okay, so that's a follow-up from last week's patch note about the scroll bars not being able to scroll all the way down. Graphically updated fires made on Tutorial Island to match the fire model now created with the fire making skill. Good.
Mm-hmm.
The farming tutor at the Taverley Potato Patch will now respond to attempts to water the potato patch with a watering can on your tool belt. Of course, that is the farming training area where you get introduced to the skill, so you'd be expected to use a standard watering can there, and it might not take into account the tool belt. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. One button gameplay option now persists when logging in and logging out. The Abyss bonus will now correctly refresh when re-entering an altar with it active. That's important for Abyssal rune crafting. An issue where base camp upgrade items were rolling on an already obtained item and then failing has been fixed. You will now more consistently get the base camp upgrades if the drop table lands on it.
Oh, boo. No wonder people are like, oh, this sucks. We're not getting what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, that would be one reason.
And I mean, I don't know if we could attribute that entirely to that, but it's definitely something.
It probably played somewhat of a part, you know.
You also no longer stop collecting compost if the last compost gives you an extra bucket of compost.
Okay.
Base camp spa effects will now show the correct duration if it exceeds 60 minutes, though the buff icon will still show 1 hour. There will be a future update to show specifically how many minutes this effect has remaining, in addition to the hour.
Huh.
The Make Leather spell can be used on dinosaur hides to tan them now. And here's another real big usability one for Big Game Hunter. The color of the ring in Big Game Hunter that denotes how close you are to being caught will now change more evenly if you have the extension bonus from a Tier 2 Hunter Lodge or above. So it didn't change previously.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot more flowing. And, I noticed that. I thought, why is this changing at the same rate as it did before when I have these upgrades? So...
yeah.
Noted damaged hides from Big Game Hunter can now be placed in the Beast of Burden inventories, and the automatic hide tanner in the Invention Guild will now accept dinosaur hide. And finally, the Light Creatures Enlightenment buff now correctly gives XP when it consumes cursed memories. And that's it for the patch notes this week. Not too many there, but I think some definite heavy hitters when it comes to Anachronia.
Some good ones, at least.
Yeah. All right, are you ready for the big live stream?
It's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Pretty big one. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know.
Well, we need to be. Because, this marks, I think, the third or fourth big live stream in a row that Maud Osborne has been on.
Yeah. And we definitely got some answers. Not exactly the ones we were looking for, but we got some answers.
And the YouTube version of this live stream was downvoted to hell, and I really, really don't think it deserved that. I don't know.
Oh, well, I know. It's see, this is why I said in pre-show they were damned if they did, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because of the announcement, it looked like it was pandering and like, hey, don't look over here, guys. There's something shiny over here. But if they hadn't addressed if they had not done the stream, then people would have been like, oh, they're running and they're not telling us. So there was no way to win in this situation. There was no way that they could win. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. All right. So, they start off, and I think they wanted to address the elephant in the room on this one because everybody has been talking with their, cousin twice removed about microtransactions throughout the entire week and a bit. And here, we're pleased that, we've heard from this. And, we're ready to move on from this here. And we're just going to talk about what was talked about on the live stream, move on. I offered everybody on the producers team a chance this week. Hey, if you guys have anything to say on microtransactions, this is your week. It's a quiet week. If you want to come on the show, come on the show. But, you know, Maud Osborne started this off by saying, you know, we could have canceled this live stream since this live stream should be focused on content. And that's what they wanted to focus on. And, you know, they did at the end of the day. And the focus should have been, of course, on the bank placeholders and improvements, as well as, you know, the big other news that was revealed in the live stream. But they decided to press forward. And in Maud Osborne's own words, he said that so much good feedback comes from the transparency of our showing our updates. That's why they wanted to do the live stream. And in particular, on the topic of microtransactions and how they talk about things, they said that discussing what should be done is what's happening now internally. And there will not be some form of an empty statement as the community wanted. There will be some actions taken as per things that are being done, and things are definitely being planned. And they want to announce something very soon on microtransactions. They said the hope was before RuneFest, but they don't want to get anyone's hopes up that they might not make that deadline. So let's keep that in mind as we head into next week. And he also had to say that his team, the episodic content team, is making some changes so that the gap that we just saw in content won't happen again. And, you know, he said there's many hoops to jump through on this, and he wants everybody to go to RuneFest happy, knowing what exactly has been happening.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people thought that they didn't make much of a statement on this one, but I actually thought that said a lot. He said a lot in that little bit because, just frankly, that kind of it definitely took my thoughts into a new direction where I was. Let's address
the biggest thing here. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to address the biggest thing here. And we knew this when they talked about the teams being split up, is that the microtransactions team is separate from the content design team, which he's in charge of, the episodic content team.
Right, but he's also he's in charge of RuneScape, right? The vision of RuneScape.
Yeah.
Like he's where Mod Mark used to be, right?
Precisely.
Like he is in charge of RuneScape. So that changed some things because last week we had talked, well, if it's not intentional, then there's something else here, like there's no communication, or there's not, it looks bad, and because it does, it didn't a good look, but I didn't know that the microtransaction is this own thing that answers apparently to no one when it comes to RuneScape. Well, not to no one, but you know what I mean? Like, Maud Osborne obviously doesn't have the final say on it, which kind of blows my mind.
And it would have to go through, of course, game balance to make sure they don't put anything in that breaks the game, too.
Right, and so like that, I didn't see that coming, because you would think that something that can affect the perception of the game so dramatically, they should have some kind of interaction or control there, because I'm sure I'm not the only person that was just looking at the facts going, well, this is messed up. And the thing is, like, that microtransaction thing, even though they didn't intend for it to be at that timing, it totally undercut what the design teams were trying to do. So if we take it in faith that the design teams really were trying to manage experience curves, well, you got this whole other rogue team. Well, not rogue team, because they're obviously following some kind of order.
They would report to the marketing and financial division.
Yeah, so they're following the marketing thing, and it made the designers team look terrible. Like, it made them look bad, man. Like,
right, and I mean, you don't throw microtransactions into a different basket other than core game content, and I think that's why it's so important that we get these episode or designer diaries out, because you have the episodic content team, you have the game experience team, which includes engine and mobile. You have live ops, and I forget what the fourth one is, but you have all those different teams, and they of course do focus on a different aspect of the game.
Right, but at the end of the day, Mod Osborne say
he's just watching episodic content.
Right? But the buck stops with him. He's the lead RuneScape. I don't know what
designer,
you call it.
I'd say
designer.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, without that information, you're sitting here and you're looking at certain things, and they start to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't, but that's a really damn important part.
And what are these things that you've noticed?
Well, I've noticed, like, over the summer, we were getting nerfed on our experience, and then at the end of summer, they started ramping up these treasure hunter promotions, and to the point that the same week that a farming nerf went out, we had this crazy overpowered treasure hunter promotion, and it looked very suspicious in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that is
split
its
up,
own thing, right?
Because we have episodic content, which is permanent content in game, live ops, which you wouldn't group treasure hunter into, but it handles that. Then core game experience and mobile.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, it sounded like when he said he had to jump through hoops. To me, that says, well, he's not the final say in Treasure Hunter. They're doing what they're doing what they want.
Yeah, they're doing what they need to do in order to, make sure that the promotions coming through Treasure Hunter do hit the benchmarks that they want them to.
Right, and I'm just sitting here going, but guys, if you make the game look bad, if you question the integrity, like if you do something that then
but now when you
puts
see
the perception,
but now when you see it as four separate teams, it's an entirely different perspective.
Yes, it made a difference. I mean, I'm not someone that won't admit when they're wrong or something. I think that the facts that I saw those are facts. But I think you were right and correct in that there was no top-down approach to it, because there can't be. They're separate, and I didn't know that. I mean, I really assumed that how on earth could you let this other team just undercut you like that? I didn't think of that as a possibility. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah.
Because I would think that you would want to, you want to protect your product and your reputation. So yeah, that's kind of, I mean, that's how it happened. That's why I thought what I thought, and that's how I've kind of changed a little bit. And I don't necessarily think it's like this is a great thing of the result. I mean, I would like to see that there needs to be more contact and working together so that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and hopefully what we're about to get will put the lid on that.
Yeah, because I mean, the right hand needs to know what the left hand's doing. They do. They have to do that so that I mean, is it a fluke? Okay, I'll accept that, but it really hurt the image of the company, and that seems to be counterproductive. Because if you hurt the image, you're not going to make any more money. Or
people can just listen to us and opt for, the experience of, community role models.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I'm still an advocate of, I think bonds are fine, and I think Solomons are fine, but I am opposed to Treasure Hunter. I don't interact with Treasure Hunter because I just don't do the whole loot box chance thing. it's not for me. And if we ever want to see it go away, that's what has to happen. You just have to quit buying the keys.
Yep, that's the only way.
And yeah, I mean, and it can't be for, it has to be indefinitely. Like, you have to make a personal decision that you're not going to interact with that anymore. And a lot of our listeners they've been on that train for a long time. And remember, next time that they try something new like Rune Pass, maybe let it play out first. Because if they could replace Treasure Hunter, we should let them. Because I think that's out of the three things that are microtransactions in this game, I think it's the worst. And it's the one that I personally see as predatory. The other things, bonds are an ecosystem. I think it's good. I think it killed gold traffickers and just like it was.
And there's a reason old school has bonds as well.
Yeah, I mean that was a very smart use of microtransactions. Solomon's is a very smart use of microtransactions. It's only cosmetic, essentially. For the most part, right? So if they come up with something that would replace the chance game, we should be supportive.
Could you imagine a Rune Pass initiative that would be themed based on the different kinds of years?
Oh, I think that would be
like there could be
fun.
A 2001 themed Rune Pass, a 2004, a 2008, and a 2013 themed Rune Pass where you could subscribe to this and you could get cosmetic overrides from different time periods. I would subscribe to that because one cosmetic override that I am dying to get in game is the old-fashioned Dragon Longsword from when RuneScape 2 first came out.
Yeah, I would love that, man. I would love that. It might even be a way of reintroducing some of the auras from the past that you can't
there you go.
get anymore.
There you go.
I mean, there are ways of doing it. That would be fine.
And I think that could also lead to a premium membership model where if you paid a little bit more per month, you could also get Rune Pass baked into that as well. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. And if we could get away from the Treasure Hunter, then you're getting away from this excess experience. Because there is. We are dealing with the MTX kind of creep at this point. Each promotion has to be more powerful than the last. When someone pays $50 and they get 2 mil, and someone pays $50 and they get 30 mil, well, that kind of sucks. And that we've seen cases of that happening, and I don't like that chance, man. I don't like the game of chance stuff. Yeah, and if I was in charge of revenue flow at one of these companies, I'd be looking at what happened recently in Belgium and what's happening in other European countries with loot boxes, realizing that Psyonix, the dev that builds Rocket League, is going to be completely removing that as a mechanic in their game by the end of the year. I would be looking at a way of moving against chance-based microtransactions right now. Yeah, for some reason the industry believes that they need them. They believe that their money's – and they do make a lot of money. But until people just start not doing it, they'll realize then. It's kind of like how in politics they said, you could never have a campaign from just people funding you. There's no way. And then Bernie
works in Canada.
I know, but I mean,
corporate and union donations are banned here in Canada.
Oh well, yeah. Well, gosh, you have a democracy, isn't that nice? But it's the same kind of dynamic, It's like, no, it can't happen. You guys can still be profitable off of selling cosmetics, off of doing some kind of a Rune Pass, off of bonds. Like, there's still revenue there. It doesn't have to be chance-based. Like, you can tell people this is what you're getting for your money, and people can make that decision to give you their money or not. I just, yeah. And you're going to get so much goodwill if you if they curtailed this, we were at a place where it wasn't. It was no one liked it, but it was kind of accepted until the last two promos, and then
right.
those
And
really
I think
pissed
that
people off.
I think what led into that was the dry summer, because one of the questions they answered on this was, why is this Slayer collection log the first new update in 11 weeks? Well, just to clarify to everybody, it's not actually 11 weeks. The first new update after that was the new player experience back in the first week of September, because even though, you can say that's not an update for everybody, it changed a lot when it came to mobile. It changed a lot when it came to the prayer interfaces. It changed a lot when it came to progression and whatnot through that methodology. So 11 weeks is incorrect. And, I think we can say that it's good that they didn't edit that question to be true, because it allows the person who asked that question to feel as though that their question was answered in full.
Yeah.
But there were other updates planned for the summer that didn't materialize. They wanted the comp rework to arrive. Then that would lead into Anachronia. Bank Placeholders was supposed to arrive sooner in August, but it needed a second beta. There was going to be weapon diversity, but that turned into 2 updates on its own. And there's also going to be a quest in the summer as well. So there's your content dry streak after Anachronia, everyone. You were supposed to get the bank update, weapon diversity, and a quest.
Yeah. Now, I don't know why all of those things didn't happen. I mean, we know what happened with the comp, and I'm totally in favor of taking as much time as they need for the bank. But I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know why we didn't get a quest, or, I really, really feel like we got to get out of the mentality of expecting something spectacular on a weekly basis.
Yep.
We just,
yep.
It's not 2005 anymore. This is not Java. This is no other gaming studio is held to that kind of a standard. I really think this remasters will be an opportunity to reshape that.
Informer.rsbnb.com.
Yeah, I do. I got an article coming out tonight. So it's called Rescaping the Future.
And, they said that, blank placeholders needed to be done right. The comp rework took on too much community involvement. Hello, we could have said that. We said it should have been small from the beginning, and that's why they shrunk it in size. Maud Osborne regrets that the design decisions made on these updates were not done right, and he wants to prevent this from happening again in the future, which, of course, falls under his team. Speaking on the bank rework, we did mention confirmed release for next Monday, September 30th. They said it's been 3 years since the initial announcement at RuneFest 2016 that they were going to do something to the bank. It was stopped in mid-2017 due to the amount of engine work it would need, and then other things happened, namely mobile. And later on in December 2018, they found a better way of doing it, the way they're implementing now in terms of the engines. So they were able to, of course, announce it in May of 2019 and launch it this coming Monday. And they did say, this update will take a little while longer than expected because they're taking a full backup of the servers. And Mod JD also said that, he said, maybe we should start doing this with some of our other more intricate updates that change more things, to have the servers down for more time, take backups.
And you actually could roll it back if you needed to. I don't think people
would complain about 15, 20 minutes of downtime.
No. I mean, if you complain about that, you've lost me. Because that's a very small price to pay to have an insurance policy that we can go back and things will be fixed. If something like went really wrong, I mean, they can't necessarily go back right now like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a much better choice to just get rid of it, roll it back.
Yep, do it right.
Yeah, do it right.
Anyways, following from that, RuneFest, the talk was about RuneFest. They said this is going to be one of the largest RuneScape 3 reveals keynotes in a number of years. It's going to be hard to squeeze it into an hour. It's going to have gameplay footage. There's also going to be a new panel talk about the live stream in terms of the survey. Or the survey, rather. They're going to reveal the answers in terms of what was expected and how they got it wrong in some cases. And one that they did tease on this.
Did they really get it wrong? Or did we get it wrong on at least one of the questions?
Well, I mean, they said moving skills up 5 levels at a time. 80% of people thought this is a good idea. Construction to 120 as the example.
Here's your controversial statement from Tanis for the week. 80% of the people are wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that could possibly be a good idea. Like it would be so confusing.
Like just think of this. You're going to announce that the construction is going to 120. People are going to train to 120 in the time frame that it took. They said the first batch would be to 105, then the next batch would be to 110, then to 115, then to 120 over a span of every 2 to 3 months. People are going to get to 120 in that intermediate time period, and they're not going to experience the joy of leveling up.
Well, yeah, I just feel like it would just make it so confusing. And the other thing is at this point, it has not been proven to me that this would not end up like, I don't know, quest lines that get pushed to the wayside. They start working on something else, and the next thing you know, you're going to have Herblore at 115 and construction at 110 and some other skill at 105. Okay, that makes sense.
I think it's better to just do it all in one shot.
I do too.
Now,
people are just hungry for content.
Yeah.
That's why they're willing to accept that.
Yeah. I agree. Let's talk about the RuneFest schedule, because this is something that is important to us here. So next week we're going to be doing our standard show with the Bank Placeholders. I keep wanting to call it the Bank Rework, but they were very clear on the stream this week that is not the title. But the Bank Placeholders update will be on our usual show. Then we'll have a special RuneFest show on the Saturday after the event is concluded. We're not going to do any live streaming during the event. But what we aim to discuss on this special RuneFest show is we want to talk about, of course, the opening talk that happens when everybody gets into the venue. First things first. We're then going to talk about the RuneScape reveals. And then after that, we're going to have a bit of a chat about, what the atmosphere and if there's any fun stuff happening on the floor this year, like what you have to do for the skill chips and anything else that might have piqued Sirion's interest, because he is going to be there. And then I think if there's time left after that, we're going to talk about the survey, because there's going to be a whole other discussion about the survey there that we'll be able to hear about, the annual survey results. And there's also going to be, of course, the RuneScape Mythbusters one, which I think we might save until the following week, depending where we're at on time. I think survey results, RuneFest floor, and RuneScape reveals will put us definitely over an hour. So, asterisk next to the Mythbusters.
Is Mythbusters like conspiracy busting?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be Mod Osborne and Mod Mark on stage. They said they're keeping the questions very spicy. One of them is, did Mod Shawnee intentionally leak Next Gen from that one live stream where he thought he was going to be fired?
Next Gen, I don't even know.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up a video on this. It was back in 2017, I think, on this. Next Gen leaked by Mod Shawnee. Yeah, minute and a half clip right here. I'll play this video. So this is ending a live stream.
You do in game. Take care and have a good one.
Bye. Ending the live stream.
Oh wait.
Then a Next Gen title appears up on screen, and then it goes to black, and you can hear the panic.
Oh my god.
Why was that preset?
Oh my god.
Oh.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I didn't know about this.
I'm about to lose my job.
Oops, I'm about to lose my job.
Oh no.
I'm about to lose my job.
Oh no.
I'm about to lose my job.
No, man. and this is just black, and you're hearing
shit,
them.
I'm about to lose my job.
You can hear it in his voice.
Which is nothing even happened like next gen, right?
Well, it was just a title, a black and white title screen that said next gen.
Don't panic. Nothing's going to come of that. That's ridiculous. Why is that button so close?
He's scared. Poor guy.
Oh my god.
Don't worry about that,
Please
Sean.
come upstairs.
Sure.
Come upstairs.
But that was a nice mistake. You're not going to fight over that.
I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, you didn't know that happened?
No.
It's a next-gen image with what effectively looks like a eagle in black and white. So, and that's of course where the whole RuneScape remastered, the RuneScape 4 idea came from, was this leak. So, it'll be things like that in the Mythbusters panel, but that's what we aim to talk about. And, many other things there. So, they added in that section on the RuneScape keynote. There's also going to be an art team focusing on the artists working together and effectively battling each other back at home. There's going to be a cook-off on stage as well at some point, 45 minutes to try and produce something. So it should be interesting to see. And
I was just thinking that looks so fun. Yeah, I wish we could do that. That would be
what,
fun.
a cook-off?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, that'd be fun. Like, don't you think, Shane? Do you like to cook?
I mean, sure, but I don't know what exactly how we would theme it around.
Well, Shane, you're Canadian and I'm American, so no matter what we make, it's going to be better than what they're used to eating over there, right? I'm just saying.
All right. I want to actually go to the biggest part of this live stream, and I'm going to play a minute of it right now, and that's when they announced something that wasn't expected.
No.
Be as free and frank as possible. Get our Q&A questions thrown.
I mean, there's a really good run of RuneScape content. There is the survey, I think, and then it's the keynote, and then it's the post-keynote. Yeah. So that's a really sort of meaty section of 3 hours that
You're right.
hopefully everybody will get something from.
Yes.
And I say obviously punctuated by the
All right,
keynote
here we
as
go.
well.
Yeah. I know that our PR man wanted us to announce something, but I don't know whether or not to. What do you think? Yes. Should we do it?
It's your
Should we do it?
content. It's your content. I'll let
28
So
and
one
a
of the
half
things we're going to
minutes
be
in.
announcing in the RuneScape reveals is that there will be a new skill. So get you speculating on what that might be.
Sean is right.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the laptop away.
The team will be raging upstairs right now. But we're going to be talking about the new skill and what that is and why that's exciting.
Yes.
There we go.
Still not quite sure how we've managed to launch that now, but that's fine. Let's. I think, as I say, let's get the speculation going. There's a lot of stuff to at RuneFest that will be focusing around what that might entail.
Yes.
I'm trying not to give anything away.
I'm going to be honest, I do wish that had been kept, in a sense, you know?
Yeah, I know.
I think there's a massive, holy shit, it's a new skill, me personally. So, that's why I'm like, oh, what?
But we've got a big piece. We're very happy with it.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking in depth. There.
Wow,
It's going to be
okay.
really good.
All right. I have to revise a theory now. You guys will recall a few weeks back I said that the large update that we were expecting for January 2020 that was announced at the tail end of last year was going to be one of the remasters and one of the skills 120. I am now revising that so that will be the new skill launching in January. That's my theory.
Shall embrace my previous theory that I wrote an article about, that there would be a new skill revealed at RuneFest, and it would be archaeology. So
I was
Thank
on
you.
the fence about that. But when I went to
Thank
go
you, thank
visit what Laniakea had to say and see that there was a huge hole in the grading at her area on the north end of Anachronia, yeah, you make a good point.
I am also kind of with Shawnee on this one because I fail to see how there could be a bigger announcement than that at RuneFest.
Well, I have a theory on this, and I don't know if I want to spill this.
Well, you can tell me and I'll spill it because I have absolutely no filters.
Okay. This is an attempt to change the channel away from the microtransaction discussion and the update drought discussion.
Oh,
leading into RuneFest.
Really?
Yeah.
See, because I thought that too, and everyone's been saying that, but I thought you would think that was, like not proven or whatever.
No, it's because that's exactly what I'd do.
Well, Mod Osborne said the PR team wants for the PR man. I'm like, yeah, well, and that kind of goes into what I was saying, like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. Like they're pretty, I think, desperate to change the topic. Hey, either way, new high score race coming, new skill, like that's really exciting.
I'm not looking forward to it. Here at RSBANDB, we spend 12 hours easily on a new skill launch in terms of getting everything ready for it. So, to have that right before Christmas, it's not fun. But
well, yeah, that's true. But you hadn't had me full time for a skill relaunch.
No, I'm talking about getting the high scores and the signatures and the website.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. I haven't been here, but I'm down with the skill, and I had invention within.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I was a player and just doing the podcast, no big deal, Like,
yeah, this is.
I think when construction came out, we spent 14 hours doing everything.
Oh wow. Yeah, so you got there's a lot of work behind the scenes, essentially.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you could have a skill that you can't make calculators for, and you just need to do the high scores aspect of, like dungeoneering.
Yeah, who knows what this will be? I mean, it could be, for my buddy's sake, I hope it's a gathering skill, but I don't know. I don't know what archaeology will look like. I just think it's archaeology. And hey, at least at least we can have fun speculation.
Yeah,
for a while.
I mean, now the lid is lifted, right?
Well, right, but I mean, now we can speculate about things that are fun and doesn't cause. I mean, it's just it's fun, we can talk about. Oh, do you think it'll be instanced, or oh, do you think it'll be mini game-esque like dungeoneering, or do you think it's going to be gathering, or do you think? What do you think this means for the kudos? I think we can actually have fun.
I think it is actually going to be archaeology because they did say two of the things announced in that talk next week will be focusing on Land Out of Time, and we know that there's definitely going to be a quest. And if you're announcing something at RuneFest, it had better be big.
And we know RuneFest is... I mean, go back and read my article. I said there is no... If it was ever going to be done, this would be the time to do it.
I'm going to pull it up right now.
So I was pretty on it. I'm just saying.
Digging up the future.
Oh
yeah, archaeology. Yeah. Jagex has not confirmed or committed to archaeology. It has been mentioned during Q&A streams in the context of possible new skills. Now that we have that straight, let's talk about why this might be a perfect type to do an archaeology skill. Number of wins earlier this year, confidence in gaining them political capital, so to speak. It's a matter of perspective at this day and age, depending on who you ask people. But,
pre-nerfs and, well, it was controversy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think read this article and you'll definitely find it, and I think it's a compelling case. especially with the whole fossil aspect, the needle aspect, and, you know, just the way Mr. Mordeaux carries himself there, and that, you know, it's a sense of exploration, right?
Yeah, and what I think is great, though, was nobody was buying into my idea, like, early on. In fact, I don't think I had anybody that was like, yeah, I think that's true. Maybe in the round table there might have been.
Yeah, there was in the round table,
yeah,
but you know, at that point I didn't want to take it to a podcast and speculate. About it.
Right.
The round table was a fine
now
for it.
Now we can speculate in a fun way, in a positive way, and just you know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of speculation that I actually enjoy, and it's there's no harm in it. It's just good, just fun.
Yeah. Did you know that the Slayer skill was revealed by way of the high scores before it came out?
No, was it an accident? Was it like a Shawnee
No,
next gen thing?
it was supposed to be, you know, there was no link to it, but if you entered in the ID for Slayer, you would be taken to the Slayer high scores table. It just didn't exist.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the reasons you know this is that if you look at the way this was laid out, Slayer was in design for RuneScape 2 before runecrafting was. Because if you look at the IDs, Slayer is skill number 19 on the high scores IDs, but runecrafting is 21.
Oh, okay. So it was planned and before.
And farming is 20. So, I mean, they did have these, you know, effectively segmented that there were going to be these two skills coming out before then. And we did know one of them was going to be Slayer leading up to it. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing we're going to be on the lookout for. And I can guarantee you the wiki's going to be on the lookout for this, because I don't know if it's still active, but back when they were doing their HTML5 experiments, they actually did have a number of ways that you could see items that were not yet listed in-game and were not even on the Grand Exchange yet.
Right.
So I think everybody's going to be watching for that as we move forward after RuneFest, you know, to try to figure this out, what's going to be in the skill and whatnot. And, you know, we're going to know the name of the skill by next Saturday.
And where is it gonna fit in? Like, is it a support? Is it a gathering? Is it an artisan? Is it a standalone? We know it's probably not an elite, or he would have said elite skill. Didn't say that.
You know, I think it would be interesting if it augmented smithing, crafting, and fletching, because, you know, when you look back to the history, you're effectively looking back in history with Anachronia, right? Given the needle.
Yeah.
So you could be augmenting, you know, your weaponry and whatnot with stuff from the past.
With ancient stuff, yeah. I think this one could have so much more tie-ins with questing than we've probably ever seen before. And that'll be fun, because you're gonna get so much. And I mean, when do you get lore out of a skill?
And also,
have we ever gotten lore out of a skill?
Right, and also think, why do you update the dig site just to use it as a launching pad to Anachronia? Granted, yes, it is an early start area, but still.
Yeah, it's archaeology. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun.
I'm trying to think of what else it could be, but I think I read that article and we had that roundtable discussion that I don't think there's much beyond that I can move at this point.
Yep.
So.
And if it ain't, I'm going to look terrible, but hey, that's okay.
I think if it's not archaeology, we'll be in for even bigger surprise.
That's true, which will be awesome, and I take my crow with a little bit of salt. So
yeah.
So.
All right. So that's, of course, looking to the future. And, you know, other questions that were asked in this live stream. Anything planned for big game hunter type skilling bosses? And the idea of skilling dungeons fits into this. And Big Game Hunter made it clear that there was an appetite for this kind of lean forward, in-depth skilling, almost a skilling boss kind of thing. So that's good. Stone spirits are going to be talked about, a blog post coming soon on that, as well as invention components from smithing, which is something the Iron Men are still struggling with.
Yeah.
Any way to gain charges faster for divination, something in relation to this to be announced at RuneFest?
We were in such a good equilibrium with that. I almost don't know if I want to see.
Well,
like, I'm all for faster, but it's at a really good balance, man.
Yeah, a charge is currently 57K.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we look at the 1 year average, 50K average, so we're above average. And if we go back all the way to the beginning, they've been averaging at around 61K. So, I mean, we're a little bit less than average, but it's not bad.
Yeah. No. I just don't want something coming out that will just
tank them.
Yeah, and that's really the only, well, it's not the only, but it is the most solid skilling money-making method. And so I'm 100% biased when it comes to that. Well, yeah, right. Well, I don't know, man. I don't think you could out-earn me from farming, could you? Like, from doing div?
How much money is divination per hour?
It's probably 2 or 3 mil at least. I would put it squarely between 2 and 3 mil an hour.
I mean, if I did 5 farming runs a day, I could out-earn that. 5 herb runs.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess, so there's farming, but it's still one of, like, the most solid ways.
Yeah. Communication platforms. Looking at how best to use these platforms so everyone has the best information, trying to prioritize things that are Jagex owned, looking at ways of doing it slightly better. That's what we've been saying for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, all you need to do is have a look at the subreddit this week.
There were some funny-ass memes, though.
Dagonoth King, Boss Pet rework. That's on the art outsourcing backlog because they do outsource some of their art assets for that. And Anachronia Batch 2. 2 things on the way at RuneFest.
Anachronia Batch 2.
No.
We knew we weren't done there, right?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's the live stream. I think we struck a good balance there. It was
it was a hell of a live stream.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think one thing, and I hope everybody sees it as this way, is that this is the time where we can start moving forward from this, because I feel that in my general sense of playing this game is that the vast majority of people out there don't care for the theatrics that are going on within certain areas of the community for microtransactions. They are just content to keep playing the game. And I asked this at the roundtable last week, and I said, how many of you people here actually care about what's happening with microtransactions? If microtransactions increased, would you continue to play? And I mean, granted, I did have some pretty heavy hitters there in terms of the skilling side, but yeah, everybody said that they would continue.
Yeah, I think right now what is important is Jagex makes some kind of stride, some kind of try to meet us halfway to microtransactions. It's not going to go away. And at different times it has, it's more important than others.
Yeah.
The last 2 promotions, I think it just really, for whatever reason, it hit a nerve. And with, there is some MTX creep on just gaining the experience side, that I really, truly think they should roll back. And if they were to do that, that would show some goodwill. And I mean, I want that. Like, I was so happy all the way until like June. I said they're on a roll, and then things did feel like they started to fall apart. And as that was happening, then we got hit with Nurse, and then we got hit with the microtransaction stuff. And so, like, if they were to, I don't know, like, put out an olive branch, that in conjunction with RuneFest and a new skill and new things going forward, that could be a new day, turn over a new leaf, a new page, a new chapter, and let's go forward together.
Yep. And that's what we're here to do, is that, we want to move forward in what I feel is that, heading into this, before seeing what is announced, I feel like we are on the cusp of having another one of those breakthrough, periods that we had at the beginning of the year. There just was a bit of downtime in the summer with updates that got canceled, and Mod Osborne, this week straight up said what they were. And I think if we had weapon diversity, if we had the bank in August, and if we had a quest, that would have alleviated a lot of the concern, because everybody would have been a lot more focused on those pieces of content.
Yeah, well, for sure. And I mean, because what we had to really chew on was we had nerfs, and we had Treasure Hunter, and that's not what you want to focus on.
Yeah,
like no matter what, you don't want to focus on that. And so but don't get me wrong, like the microtransaction issue, I don't think it's going to go away. I think they could do themselves a ton of good, especially with the people that you're talking about, Shane, if they made some kind of an effort to either dial it down or change it, or it just something like that. If people were seeing them saying, "We hear you, and we are going to try to change," it would make a big difference. And even though we might not have cared much for the what was it, Kotaku article?
Kotaku.
Kotaku
is link-based garbage that's owned by Gawker and that other shithole media company.
I totally agree, but I'm saying it had an impact.
Of course it did. That's what Kotaku articles are all aimed about. And, that's something that we have seen ever so more in the modern world, is that media, not just, the media you see at the end of the day, every bit of media out there sensationalizes their stories. Because what is the best way for a media company, whether it is, CNN or a gaming blog or someone in the middle like Kotaku, to drive traffic? It's with a sensationalist headline.
Yeah, you need headline for clicks, But I'm just saying, like, all of that put together, it does have an effect. And microtransactions are unpopular, and I really think if there was an effort made, it would help. It would really help.
And this factors into the communication strategy, too. Of
don't
using
get
their
me
own
started,
platforms.
man.
I know you and Pernasius could go on that forever. I know.
I mean, hey, I am 100% in favor of remasters, right? Mod Osborne sold me. I was like, yes. A week later, hey, we got a new skill, guys. Oh, come on. Killing me.
But it's worth noting what is talked about at RuneFest and what they pull from the survey. Those are two distinct different time periods. RuneFest is the next 3 to 4 months. Survey is after that.
Yeah, obviously, like, for those in the know, they know that, like you stated, this skill is probably in QA at this point or something like that. Like, this was something that was done last year. But it's just their timing, man. Their timing. It's just like that could have been announced. Like the remasters should have been announced. Like, I don't know, maybe after the some other time would have been better than right at like within weeks of the new skill announcement.
Like, I am really excited for 2020 at this point, and seeing where we're going next.
Want to be? Like, I really want to be. I mean, I guess I am. I just want to see what can they offer us in the way of toning some things down, and just show us that you care. I feel like more than anything, we're to a point where we feel like we're not being cared about. Like, and I'm not saying that's their job to care about us. I mean, yeah, they're a company, but this game is different. if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. This game is different. I can't think of any other game that people invest emotionally in the way that they do with RuneScape. You can have clan drama and totally just make your life suck for a minute. You know what I mean? Like, right or wrong, like this game is like it's this different thing, you know. And I think we want to feel like we're important, like that the players aren't just numbers, they're not just dollar signs. Like we love your product, we love this thing, and it gives us a sense of ownership. It's not entitlement. We feel a part of it. We've put our time and our sweat and our emotions into it. You know what I mean? Like, and I just want them to like acknowledge that, because it would go so far.
Yeah, and I think that's why crafting that post that we're going to hopefully get next week is so important, because that will answer a lot of these questions. And, you know, there is going to be a segment in the community that it's not going to be good enough for. But I think at the core aspect, if you have the core of what makes RuneScape great, and, you know, that is the community, and that community is on with that vision, then I think we're in a good spot. And, you know, I think that's what I came away with thinking of in this live stream. So anything else from the live stream, or are we good?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, we do have a listener question this week, but before we do that, I'll just take a moment to remind everybody about our Patreon page, which you can find at patreon.com/RSBANDB. And this week, I'd like to thank Arvids L, Brock H, Cass, Darren L, Diana, Jason S, Kyle, Logan H, Sam W, Tom V, and Zez. Thank you, all of you, for your wonderful support of RSBANB Update. It truly does mean the world to us. And, you know, this is Patreon in action. We put up a few days back the poll for the next monthly bit, which will be coming out hopefully before RuneFest, providing none of us get sick or anything bad like that happens. But you guys voted in that one quite overwhelmingly. We will be talking about defining the end game of RuneScape for our next monthly bit.
We need some end game.
Yeah, exactly.
Voices.
Exactly.
All right.
So with that being said, if that sounds interesting to you and you want to be the first to listen to that, you can head on over to patreon.com/RSBNB and contribute for as little as $1 a month. And with that, you get a special mention in our show notes, early access to the show notes that I post before we record, ability to join our round tables every month, and the ability to vote for the monthly bit. And you gain access to the entire back catalog of what is now 14 monthly bits, high quality audio versions of the show. And if you want to go even higher than that, you can gain access to the clip show outtakes that we use, which you'll be hearing at the end of the year. But Patreon supporters get them exclusively for $5 a month, and for $3 a month you get a special VIP rank on Discord and those high quality versions of the show that I mentioned. And of course we have Inside RSBANB Update, which is our little get to know you feature at the start of the month with one of the hosts. We also have our monthly bit, which progressing on producing this month. And, of course, the roundtable, which we did last weekend, which, you know, I forgot to press publish on that one. So that one is uploaded on the channel. I just need to post it to Patreon. So that'll be out by the time you guys hear that. I can't believe I forgot to do that. But nonetheless, it has been...
That was a big one.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I'm going to upload that as soon as we're done with the show. Remind me if I don't. I don't know. It just completely skipped my mind this week to upload the live discussion on that. And, you know, should we reach $99 a month, we'll have movie night in the RSBNB Discord once a month, which, you know, will probably include some Star Trek with the way things have been going. So
it better. I need to catch up on my Star Trek movies.
That's right. Patreon.com/RSBNB. Alrighty. Thank you once again, everyone. It really does mean the world to us. And pivoting over to questions right now, we have a question from Seth who says, I have a question for you on the podcast. With Jagex now focusing on remasters and the new player experience, do you think that the legacy interface mode could or should be used as a default to introduce them to the core game mechanics first. Since the game mostly revolves around skills, non-combat, do you think this would be a good option? And around at, say, level 50 to 70 combat, introduce the advanced combat mode. P.S. I love the podcast. I listen every week. Keep up the great work. You know, I think the legacy UI has a place. It's good if you are playing on what I found to be a very cramped display, namely, in my case, this past summer, 1440 by 900 laptop screen.
Okay.
But beyond that, I think the accessibility of the modern UI can't be matched in that, you know, you can move things around and resize things. The world map is bigger. That's the biggest one for me. And, you know, the presets that you have for RuneScape 3, for the RS3 default, and some of the other ones really aren't that bad anymore in terms of UI. And I think that's one way of looking at it, that the presets they initially had for the modern UI were bad. But I think the biggest problem is that, you know, you have those what are effectively called root menus, like, you know, your hero menu, your adventures menu, your power menu. I'm forgetting one, the social menu. Those are the main four that you're going to be going for in order to find anything in game. I think the fact is that there's just so much buried in these menus that is the problem with the RS3 UI. It's not that the top level UI when you're playing the game is bad, because that can be customized to anyway, and there were some bad presets on that initially, but I just think that it's not clear where you find certain things, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think you're right. There is a place for the legacy interface if that's what you've been used to, if that's what you like. I don't necessarily think you would have to make that as like the default setting, but maybe a better guide and tutorial on how the interface works, how those options work, how you can move things around, which I don't even know if that exists, because I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, it's been, I don't even know how many years, 10, 12 years, something like that I've been playing. So like the changes, I've just went with the changes as they've came. So I don't know what it would be like being a new player in that regard. But for me, I absolutely couldn't give up my modern interface. If it wasn't for this interface, honestly, I would probably play both games. Like, I would probably play OS and RS3 if it wasn't for the interface. But it's essential for me to be able to move my action bar under my character so I can see things happening, because I have such a limited field of view. It's essential for me to be able to put my inventory where I need it for various tasks, whether I'm skilling or whether I'm doing combat. Like, those things are just, I couldn't give them up, because if they weren't there, I don't know if I would have lasted this long, or if it would have just eventually became too difficult and too tiring to try to.
Yeah. And another thing that tells me it's not a problem with the presets is that they're having the same trouble for the mobile UI in terms of needing to make, consistent UI changes on the mobile client in order to effectively bring it up to a standard that will work with new players who are playing it on mobile. Then the question becomes, how do you take that mobile UI and expand it out to a large screen? There's going to need to be a mobile preset so that your UI on mobile is going to look similar to your UI on desktop. And, just imagining what that could look like right now, that would be with the chat up at the top left, the action bar at the bottom with any supplementary action bars that you want, as well as your character info up at the top as well, I think, or maybe at the bottom above the action bar. I don't know. Then on the right-hand side, you'd have a vertical a vertical ribbon, because that's exactly what you have in mobile right now. And then you would want to have all the UI icons ordered the same way they're ordered on mobile as they are in as they would be in the desktop client. And what this would do is it would allow somebody who, say, you create your account on mobile, right? It would load that preset when you first load up the standard game. That is what should be done in that regard, in order to make the mobile to PC UI easier. And, I think the best UI that RS ever had was the UI from 2008 until RuneScape 3 launched, when they had that RuneScape HD thing. And that's what I think the default RS3 UI largely replicates right now, if I remember the setting. Because that preset, I don't know if you've looked, Seth, but that preset has been updated not too long ago. So I think that might be worth having a look at. And, for that reason, and, I come back to what's the biggest problem with the legacy UI? It's the world map for me. And for you, it's just the ability to not move things around.
Yeah.
Because not many people know this, but Tannis actually uses a screen magnifier. And if you can only have certain things in certain areas, that's no good.
Yeah, because the thing with the magnifier is it makes it big enough for me to see the action that I'm taking, but it dramatically reduces your field of view. So if I'm looking at my character, I can't see my inventory or prayers or, just what have you. So, and if I'm looking at those and I can't see the characters, so I can't see what's going on if I'm being attacked or whatnot. So, yeah, that's why I couldn't really live without it. Especially now that I'm so used to it.
All right. Thank you for that question, Seth. I'm glad you listen every week and you enjoy the show so much. If you guys want to send your own questions in, you can email them to questions@rsbnb.com, or you can leave us a DM or message us on Twitter @RSBNB. And, we also do have one on the forums. So those of you guys who are forum dwellers, update.rsbnb.com/ask for that. All right, so moving into tech news, Google has won a lawsuit in the EU in its right to be forgotten case. So what this is about is that Google effectively didn't want to allow users the right to be forgotten, say, hey, Google, delete everything on me. And the EU's top court has said that, you only need to have this policy in the EU. You don't need to apply it globally. So what this means is that, if you want something deleted from your account, you can do that. We can already do that here, but this also dives deeper into the things of search results. So in order to have a link removed from search results in Europe, Google receives a request, and that means that search result would only be removed from its URLs or its URL bank in Europe. And, this started in France back in 2015. CNIL is a French privacy regulator, ordered Google to globally remove search results listings to pages containing damaging or false information about a person. This continued later on that same year, with Google introducing a geo-blocking feature that prevented European users from being able to see delisted links. But Google actually resisted removing these search results for people in other parts of the world. And the firm challenged a 1,000 euro fine, which is about $110,000 that CNL had tried to impose. And, they say currently there's no obligation under EU law for a search engine operator who grants a request for a dereferencing by a data subject to carry out such a dereferencing on all versions of its search engine. So that means if you're using a Google version that is based in an EU country, you're not going to see those results. But if you search it on Google Canada or Google US, you will see it. And that's where we're at with this week. I don't know. See, this just seems so foreign to me that something like this is a policy that is, effectively commonplace in Europe right now for us here in North America.
Yeah. It's just weird that data equals like big business and money, but yet you can't make anything off of your own.
Yeah.
I guess.
And,
so weird.
And I guess what this means is that if you can prove ownership to a certain page and you don't want it showing up in Google, you can do that. But nothing's going to happen with it in the rest of the world. So, I mean, it's still there. You just need to change that result unless they make it so that even if you're in the EU, you won't see that. So, I don't know. Personally, I believe that having the full set of information, and Google does this, is what allows them to be so effective in this regard. And I think that many people think that, this is in relation to just your data that you might have with Gmail or something to that effect. But this is actually a search result on a website. And, that's different. That's going to affect a smaller section of the population. And, I think it is actually a good thing that we'll still be able to see this in the rest of the world.
So does have implications for fake news? Or Russian bot farms?
No, it doesn't. Like no, this is more along the lines, if you own a website and you don't want it to be on Google, you can say, hey, I don't want this website to be on Google, and it won't show up in the EU.
If you own a website, why on earth would you not want it to be on Google?
I don't know. Maybe it's a private family website.
Huh? Okay.
With photo albums and whatnot. Though I guess people do use Facebook in this day and age for that. I don't know.
If you're not on Google, then does that mean you wouldn't be indexed at all?
Well, you would be indexed. You just wouldn't show up in the EU.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This
is confusing for me, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, and what this effectively means is that if you live in, say, Germany, and you request this page about you be removed, it'll be removed, and nobody will see it on Google in the EU. But if you're in the US and you search for a similar term, it'll still be there. That's all this ruling means.
Okay.
So, this is something to keep in mind, that, hey, even if you're in the EU and you put something on Google, it's going to be there forever. Even if you can't see it in the EU, it'll be there in different countries. So.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we didn't talk about this with the release of iOS 13 and Android 10, but the launch of Apple Arcade and Google Play Pass. And these are two very similar services by Apple and Google that effectively allow you to get apps and games without ads or in-app purchases. And what we see here is Google and Apple's attempt to provide a way forward for people who don't want to be hounded by in-app purchases or ads on these. Google Play Pass, which is the version that Android users will be able to purchase, gives you access to more than 350 apps and games that are completely unlocked, whereas the Apple Arcade, they don't really say how many are there, but pretty much anything that is a part of this catalog, you'll be able to play on all of your Apple devices for the same cost. And this is something that I think we looked over when it came to the launch of both iOS 13 and Android 10. But recall our discussion going back to microtransactions. What if this is the future of microtransactions? These passes where the big companies take the hit.
I was thinking the same exact thing as you were saying.
Apple's is $5 US a month, $6 Canadian, and same thing for Google's $5 a month.
Yeah, I mean, I think
100 plus games.
Gamer, yeah, no, if you're a mobile gamer, it's probably a good deal. I never saw much in the way of the Apple Arcade that I was interested in, so I never. I mean, I don't think I'd pay for it, but what if Jagex offered that?
Yeah, the Google one actually also brings in apps into it as well. One of the ones they mentioned is AccuWeather. So it's not just games; it's just apps being less annoying.
Well, that's cool.
And you're right. What if Jagex did offer this?
I'd pay for it.
Granted, I mean, it would provide an incentive to play RuneScape on mobile, but you'd still need to pay the subscription fee on top of it.
Well, yeah,
but maybe that might
it's a
be
subscription-based
but
game.
maybe that might be worth it.
Thing. Yeah. Well,
but the thing is, I mean, with a subscription-based game, you really can't do that. And the question is, would Apple, or rather Jagex, be willing to go in to the Apple Arcade or the Google Play Pass and put their game on there for free to play? I don't think they would.
You got me. I don't know.
I honestly don't think they would. I think this is not for RuneScape, to be honest.
No, but it's an idea that could be molded and shaped and, yes, and made for RuneScape, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, with this, the Apple one, you can share it with up to 5 family members, so you only need to buy it once. You get it for all your devices on your Apple account. And, you know, we've been talking a lot back and forth about iOS 13 since its launch. We're both very, very pleased with it. And I think this is something you and I completely just overlooked, the Apple Arcade.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I was aware of it. But like I said, I didn't think much about it because I don't play mobile games. Well, number one, I can't play mobile games. So let's just get that out of there because I use VoiceOver, and
right.
So you can't play a game with that. So I never thought about that. I did have the question. I thought about it in terms of like, I wonder if it would work on the Apple TV.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and so if they ever get a big chunk of like retro games or something like that, I might be interested in it then. But yeah, I didn't put much into it with the release of 13 just because
there were far bigger things that you were also very happy about.
Dude.
But that's a topic for another day.
Yes.
All right. So that looks really good on both those fronts. Moving on to that, our last story, Apple has said that they will make their new Mac Pro, manufacture the new Mac Pro in Austin, Texas. That came out this week. And, you know, this is something that many people didn't think would be possible for Apple to build a computer in the U.S. But, you know, the volume of orders of the new Mac Pro is going to be so low that it is going to be possible for this. And I actually have a little secret, is that if you order a custom-built iMac, at least back in 2017 when I did, that comes with a nice sticker on the back, assembled in the USA. So this is not new with the Mac Pro. Apple actually in the past has been building some of their computers in the United States, and so much so that my iMac was even assembled in the United States, among others.
It was at least assembled there, right?
Yeah, but of course, you know, you get your components from everywhere else, right?
Right. Well, and the first thing I noticed with this is like, look, I'm very happy that they would bring manufacturing to the U.S. That's wonderful. I wish it hadn't been Texas, because Texas is a right-to-work state, so no possibility of...
Well, for what it's worth, it's
anything.
Texas because that's where Apple's second largest campus is in the U.S., in Austin.
Oh, is that...
Yeah, Cupertino and Austin.
Austin makes sense. Yeah, Austin would make sense. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the whole right-to-work states, but... on the other hand, you probably love them, right, Shane?
Yeah, that's true. I wish that was a thing in Canada.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, but hey, manufacturing in the U.S., yay! We'll take it.
And, you know, this was actually accredited to tariff exemptions on computer components, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So this is an exemption that the U.S. government made, and it looks like it made specifically for Apple. Keep in mind, though, that the Mac Pro starts at $6,000.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be pretty small numbers. So, And with $6,000, of course, you can pay people appropriately when you're charging that much.
Another thing with this is that if any company out there starts manufacturing smartphones in the U.S., I will be the first to go buy one of those smartphones, even if it's an Android.
Well, I couldn't, but I would be very supportive of that company.
Yeah, definitely. And, that's something that in the modern era, people can say China can manufacture these phones so much better because they have effective work camps set up to do that. They have, the engineering areas there. There's a story that, when they were doing an iPhone design change, they needed to change the size of the screw on one of the iPhones. You couldn't do that in the U.S. because there was no real screw manufactory in the same town where the phones would be produced, whereas in China it all exists in the same spot. You send a new design into your screw manufactory. Next day, you have 4,000 screws made, according to new specifications.
You know what? There used to be screw factories and TV factories and every other factory you could ever imagine before we outsourced it over there.
Yeah.
That's a bad argument for the people.
It is. And, it just goes back and forth to that you have these big companies like Apple and whatnot. They say they're producing in China to keep the costs down. But the reality is if that investment had never left the U.S., it never left the Western Hemisphere, the people in the Western Hemisphere would be a lot more rich than they are today. And we could have kept those prices down on those devices in terms of, the technology and R&D that would have went forward into building those devices too.
And I've never understood that train of thought when it comes to, you can get away with cheaper labor, but your labor will never be able to afford to buy your phone.
Yep.
Like, if you're in the U.S., we're buying the phones. Pay us, and that was look. I am not a big capitalist by no means, but Henry Ford was onto something when he paid his workers enough so they could buy the cars. Like, that's just, to me, that's common sense.
Right, and that's what Steve Jobs did as well with the first Macintosh. It was the first computer that was cheap enough that a normal working person could afford it.
And then they were in everyone's homes.
Exactly.
They became ubiquitous with our daily lives. I don't know. It's that does come down to just a pure greed mentality, and I don't.
And people say it's not possible, but it is indeed possible.
Well, it's totally possible. I mean, we make plenty of things. They're all weapons of war, but we can make them.
Yeah.
Like, we're really good at making them.
I realize we're getting away from tech news here, but all you need to do is look at the industrial transformation that happened in World War II from an industrial complex that was built, of course, to producing cars and whatnot and other machinery. It geared towards a military-industrial complex in the World War II. And, it went back to a degree, but it never went back to what it really was before World War II. And that contributed to some of the problems as well. But as I said, we're getting away from the Mac Pro discussion.
I know. It's it's fun, though.
It really is, because people say it's not possible, but it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you just need to look at supply chains and realize that, maybe we should start educating people to do the jobs that we need, rather than saying everybody has to go to university and spend whatever it costs down there to do that.
Well, I tell you what, with some simple reforms, people wouldn't be wanting, there wouldn't be the hunger for the governmental programs if it was able to, if people were able to stand on their own, but they have been just squeezed from every possible angle, and you can't stand anymore. Like, it's. I was just listening to the podcast that was Pick of the Week, the Dan Carlin's history. Japan, before they attacked us, had reports on what our manufacturing capability would be if we were to enter the war, and they laughed at them.
Yep.
They're like, this can't be true. There's no way this is true.
Oh, but it was.
It was.
At the peak of World War II, one Sherman was rolling off of the assembly line every half an hour.
Yeah. I mean, they're shitty tanks, but when they roll off every half an hour, I mean, come on. Yeah.
All right. Skill of the Month competitions for September. We had the woodcutting competition, which ended last week. Congratulations to JamAndy52 for winning with 4.8 million XP. Pernasius came in second, and he informed me that he thought mining was up first, and because of that, spent 3 days mining and missed out on XP. Oops.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But after that, we do have the current woodcutting competition. This ends tonight. The mining competition. Dear God, now I'm doing it. Unknown Raptoid with 7.4 million, Ripeth with 1.9, and Dear God with 1.3 million. Nicely done, everybody. So,
yeah.
Well,
I signed up the wrong account for that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the wrong guy.
Fair enough. So rsbnb.com/skill of the month. We'll have more of those in October, announced for next week. Fingers crossed. All right. What do we got for achievements this week?
Well, we got some nice ones. We'll start off with the Lion with 120 smithing on September 24th. And we have Jammy Jenny with 99 dungeoneering. That was on the 24th. We have Pouncing with 99 divination on September 23rd.
And then we have Wiki86 with 99 thieving also on the 23rd. Ripeth got 99 mining as well on the 23rd. Lots of them clustered there. Then from Clan Quest, Derp got 120 magic on the 21st. And then Ailey Turbo got 99 agility on the 21st as well. Nicely done, everyone.
Yeah, great achievements.
Great indeed. All right. I believe you have a pick of the week for us. So what do you got?
I do. Now, I don't watch very much TV, right?
Neither do I.
And there's not a great selection of like family-oriented TV anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's a little dicey to find something that is both entertaining for, I don't know, my 7-year-old and me at the same time, right? Like it's kind of a hard thing to find. But we have been watching a show called The Masked Singer, and it's huge. It's a huge blowing up kind of show. It was really big last year. This is the second season of it, and they basically take well-known, famous people, and they put them in these outrageous costumes where you cannot tell who they are in any way, shape, or form. They have big, like, heads on them and stuff. Like, seriously, Shane, how they do the sound? I told my wife last night, I'm like, dude, the tech that has to be in that head is incredible. But because you can't hear any echo or anything when they're singing. Like when they're singing, it's perfect. So it's a singing show. These celebrities dress up. They're in dress the whole time. They disguise their voice anytime that they talk, and then they will give you like 2 or 3 hints before they go out and sing their song, so that you can try to guess who it is. And then at the end of the show, whichever person kind of does the least well has to remove their mask and show everyone who they are. So last night was the first show. Spoiler alert, the first celebrity was unmasked, and I got it right completely. No one else did.
Who was it?
It was Ninja.
Who?
Ninja. I think it's Tyler Ninja Blevins. Ninja, dude. The streamer. Huge streamer. Like the Fortnite streamer.
Oh.
Like he's like the biggest streamer. Like,
ever. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it was great because like you could tell immediately he was an awful singer. Like, so he came out
singing. So they're
singing.
Not real singers doing it.
No, sometimes they are. Like last year they had Gladys Knight on it. So, yeah. I mean, no. I mean, they really are. Some of them are like, yeah. It just depends. But yeah, he came out and sang "Old Town Road." I'm like, dude, it's a streamer. I'm like, it's got to be Ninja. It's got to be Ninja. But I think all the judges were too old to even know what streaming was, let alone who Ninja was. So they had no clue. But yeah, it was fun because you can sit there and you watch it with your family, and it's just kind of fun to guess and fun to see the costumes and stuff like that. So that's my pick of the week. Like I said, I'm not a TV watcher, but this is something that you can actually watch with your kids and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like one that
like
can
that.
mess up too bad, so that's good.
Yeah, no.
I'm not a fan of what we see much on broadcast TV in this day and age, to be honest.
I'm
So
not either. So, yeah, we're on the same page there.
all right, sounds good. The Masked Singer. What network is that on?
Oh, gosh.
Or is it streaming?
Well, we watch it streaming, but I think it is NBC. I don't know.
Fox.
NBC,
apparently.
CBS, is it Fox? Okay.
Fox.
You had me there. I'm like, I don't know. It's like the third little square on our Apple TV. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Fox. All right. All right. That's definitely an interesting pick of the week. That's good. So what have we been up to on RS? I'll start with this this week. So you guys will note that I did have my whole spiel last week about the player-owned farm, and this week I transformed that into an Informer article, and I give that a read. It's called Farming Money, because I initially had the idea of calling this How to Farm circa 2019, because back in 2009 or something like that, we had a video series called How to Farm. It was done on YouTube by Chief Snake, Brad, and I thought maybe it's time to redo that, and I could definitely do that here. But what I did is I went through why farming is an ecosystem and why it made sense to nerf the player-owned farm with that, and how even after the player-owned farm, if you just do, say 3 Toadflax farm runs a day, you can feed all your animals, the top-tier animals, and have extra money to go out and buy tree seeds to get lots of farming XP. And at that point, you're earning more money than you did prior to the player-owned farm nerf, if you play your cards right on that, because dragons take days to grow, whereas you can do these magic tree runs once a day, and you're going to be pulling in around 250k XP from all of your tree runs combined on that front. So farming is as powerful as it's ever been, and I knew that was going to be the case with the nerf, and that's why I was such a champion of the nerf. But now I hope everybody else will be able to see that going forward. But just aside from that, just a bit of woodcutting on RS, and I actually spent the bulk of my time online this week reconfiguring the player-owned farm. I think I spent somewhere close to 40 trait rerollers to get all the animals, zygomites and whatnot, with the right traits, given the changes for the player-owned farm recently. So
Cool.
yeah, informer.rsbnb.com. Yeah, what about you?
Well, I read your article. That was the first thing I did this week. And while I can never, ever, ever say that I'm a champion of a nerf, it was a very well-written and convincing article, and your ecosystem argument moved me some. The farm was too good before. I don't like to say that, but it was. So, yeah, that's a good article. And I read that while mining and collecting charms, like I've done for months now. But actually, I did it a little bit different this week. I actually looked up a guide for familiarization, and I started cannoning the Dagnoffs at the Waterbirth Isle or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So I did change it up, but
yeah. Not the rock lobsters.
No, is that better?
I mean, that was the go-to back in the day. It was rock lobsters with ice magic. I don't know if it still is.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I
rock
always
lobsters in the Waterbirth dungeon used to be one of the best sources for Crimson charms out there. I'm sure the wiki has a calculator on that.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
It was slightly dangerous.
Oh, okay.
Because if you weren't careful, you could get aggro. Oh, I also did forget to mention in this article that You don't even need to buy your own Juju farming potions anymore because you can get one Juju seed daily, and you can plant that in your herblore habitat. And with that bit of hunting, you can easily make the Juju farming potions. So I forgot to mention that too. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, even the 7 to 10 herbs. See, that's what I usually get.
See, that's base.
7 to 10.
But
Yeah.
if you take it all the way to the top, the top ore, the top outfits, ultra compost, you're going to be getting between 10 and 11.
Okay.
So, and that's where it really comes into play. And, this is where I made all my money this year, was I bought spirit weed seeds. Then I bought I believe they were the impious ashes, correct me if I'm wrong. And I made spirit weed incense sticks, and those were selling for like $25K a pop after that update hit, because nobody had spirit weed, because spirit weed is really only farmable.
Oh, that makes sense.
It might still be good. So, yeah, really good. And, that's perhaps what I'm waiting for the most with mobile is the ability to do more herb runs, because it's just so much easier, have a preset, do a 5-minute herb run, and away you go.
Yeah, PSA, don't forget about the incense sticks, which I totally did.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about the whole update. Man.
There's actually an incense stick that's good for woodcutting, Cadentine.
Huh.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know if there's one for mining, but there's definitely one for woodcutting. So, I mean, you just got to keep all these things in mind, and the story literally writes itself.
Yeah.
So, I believe that's it for this episode of RSBANDB Updates. So if there's anything else that you guys need, feel free to, of course, reach out to us. You can do that on Twitter at RSBANDB or in our friends chat, Bits Bytes. You can also subscribe to us on any number of podcast listeners out there, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, and even YouTube. You can do that. Just head over to update.rsbnb.com/subscribe. Click on the one you want, and you'll be taken there. So do that if you want RSBANDB Update delivered automatically to you. So with that being said, we'll be back next week to discuss the Bank Placeholders update. Have a good weekend, everyone.
See ya.